Vinny Politan, great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments, and we're getting closer and closer in our countdown to the Doomsday trial. Lori Vallow Daybell, the so-called Doomsday cult mom, accused of murdering her 2 children, and get this, not just her 2 children, but the first wife of her 5th husband. All right, you following the math here? She dies. 10 days later, she's marrying her widow, Chad Daybell. By the way, he's also charged with these murders, but the cases have been severed. So on April 3rd, like I said, the countdown continues. Lori Vallow Daybell will be on trial, charged with those murders, facing the death penalty, which in this country we reserve for the worst of the worst. For instance, someone who might murder their own children, someone who might murder an innocent woman so she can marry her husband and run off to Hawaii with a bag of insurance money and tell people that her children are being abducted by some cult. Yeah, those are some of the allegations. This is a wild, wild story. But it's a death penalty case, and today everyone was in court. The defense trying to get the death penalty off the table. They don't want it to be a possibility in this case. They want the judge to take care of that, not the jury. So there were arguments today. No cameras, but there were microphones. Take a listen.
The other motions, we've been attacking the constitutionality of the death penalty for quite some time. There are some motions pending regarding the death qualification of the jury, a motion pending regarding the federal Constitution, the United States Constitution, as it respects cruel and unusual punishment. We've also attacked the death penalty on state grounds, that the Idaho Constitution, that the death penalty scheme isn't sufficiently narrowed as it applies to all death penalty cases and as it applies to Ms. Daybell. And so with all those motions pending, this is another set of reasons why we're asking the court to dismiss the death penalty. Let's go ahead and go to trial without the death penalty is our request. So I set out in our motion reasons why the media saturation, multiple discovery violations by the government, the government's knowledge of my client's mental health status, and just the practical standpoint of Idaho has been trying to kill people on death row and haven't been able to do it. They haven't been able to do it because Idaho Department of Corrections can't get the chemicals needed to kill people. And so it's debated right now in the Idaho legislature, well, if we can't kill people with drugs, let's kill them with a firing squad. So it's pretty appalling, really, the efforts of our politicians to try to kill people. So asking a jury to do this, we're asking this court to take that option away from them. Don't make 12 people in Boise make that decision. Don't put that burden on them to do what our government cannot do.
I have a little response to some of what was argued there. It's not the 12 people who put someone to death. It's not 12 people who kill someone. It's 12 people who do their civic duty and follow the law. If you don't like the law, you change the law. But that's the law in Idaho. And obviously, in every death penalty case, they're going to argue the constitutionality. They're going to do everything they can to get it off the table, especially when you have some facts being dealt up like they are in this case against Lori Vallow Daybell. All right, let's talk about what's happening out there. Let's bring in our live think tank tonight. Joining us in studio, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Noah Pines, criminal defense attorney, board member of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and fellow of the American Board of Criminal Lawyers. Oh my God. Former president of the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. He was also vice president of his student council in high school.
That wasn't.
And he was, did you letter in anything? Lawrence Zimmerman is with us, ladies and gentlemen. And criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, Daryl Cohen, also a former prosecutor. All right, great to see everyone. Did we cover everything, Lawrence? Is there anything else?
Spelling bee?
Spelling bee, champ?
Second grade spelling bee, yes.
Did you win the punt, pass, and kick like I did when I was 8 years old?
I was a pretty good punter.
Okay, there we go. All right, let's start here, first of all, with the passionate arguments from Lori Vallow Daybell's attorney. This is her new attorney. They got rid of Mark Means. I don't know why Mark Means is out of the case. Prosecution got him kicked out of the case somehow, some way. Probably didn't like the way that he was on his feet inside the courtroom. But what did you think about these arguments that the state doesn't have the chemicals? They've got some supply chain issue or something. Is that a basis?
All they have to do is get weed and put fentanyl in it, and that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Look, he has to argue something.
Right.
And he wasn't exactly the most exciting speaker I've ever heard. But he's got to argue something. And fortunately for him, the court reporters take it down and they don't get his voice. So we're okay there.
Yeah, exactly, when it comes to the appeal. Noah, we've got the law in Idaho, right? Yeah. They do have the death penalty. The legislature's thinking about passing a law to allow firing squad, and he was all up in arms about that.
That's a good one, Vinny, up in arms.
Yeah. But if they pass the law, these are the people who are elected by the people of Idaho. If they want it, they'll enact it, right? We've got it in other states. We have hanging in one state, don't we?
Do we?
I think we do.
Clint Eastwood, hang 'em high.
I mean, have they really hung people in another state?
I think it's an option.
You know, look, there is a cruel and unusual argument, right? That's why we don't use the electric chair in most states, or I think almost all the states anymore. His argument wasn't very
What is the
passionate.
uncruel way to put somebody to death? If the death penalty is constitutional at this point, right? It's permitted. States are permitted to do it.
You couldn't torture somebody to death. You couldn't prolong death. It has to be a kind of an instantaneous death.
Like a firing squad. That's what you're arguing for.
I guess if you hit the person at the right spot, then it would be a firing squad. But what if you don't? And then there's the whole sort of anticipation of it and the pain, I would assume. If you inject somebody, it's kind of easy. When I say it's easy, you don't experience what you would experience in an electric chair, which was, if you've seen any electrocution, which I haven't, but I've seen films of them. It's
hair catching fire.
Yeah, and I understand what happened. It happened down in Florida.
Yeah.
They had the problem.
Sparky.
So where are we in this case now? They're getting ready. I mean, the case is April 3rd, and here we are. It's like the middle of March. We're arguing the death penalty still?
Well, in any death penalty case where the state's noticed it, you always go through all the procedures to argue against death penalty, getting death qualified jury, and you can argue always the constitutionality. And the issue of the lethal injection is that they can't get the drugs because the manufacturers are no longer providing it to a lot of states for that purpose. A lot of doctors are opposed, Hippocratic oath, do no harm. And some of these drugs have been shown based on recently, in the last few months, in the last few years actually, that they're not, like Noah's saying, quick and painless. They cause excruciating pain. Some people are paralyzed and in pain, so it's not as painless as, that's why it's cruel and unusual, and they're arguing why it's unconstitutional. I did read recently, though, to Noah's point about the firing squad, that if they do hit you right, it is about as quick and easy as possible.
There you go.
No way am I saying
we've got 2 votes for the firing squad being the way out
I'm against death penalty anyway.
I want to add to the fact that if she's convicted, the kids were murdered cruelly and unusually. So I sort of wonder what a jury is going to think and what they do think about the person who, if they convict her.
Right. This all presumes a conviction. We're not going to execute anyone if they're not convicted. But Daryl, you bring up the best point of all here. Tylee was burned. She was put in a pet cemetery. her remains chopped up and burned. This is sick stuff we're
We don't
talking
have an
about.
eye for an eye.
So what's
Vinny.
wrong
That's
with life
not
in
our
prison?
Justice system.
What's that?
What's wrong with life in prison?
What's wrong with it? Have you read the recent commutations that are taking place around the country?
I've never seen
Governors suddenly have the power to just let people go. They're letting murderers go. This is a little more final for the worst of the worst.
I haven't seen that conspiracy theory blog, Vinny. That's not true. No governor is letting someone who was sentenced to life without parole, committing them to time served unless there's something to show they're actually innocent. I've never seen that before.
Okay.
And I hope we never see it now.
But they have the power to do
And
it.
Georgia's governor can't even do it.
Well, in a Georgia prison, you might die by an
Right.
inmate. I mean, there's so many inmate deaths, and now even guards are being prosecuted for allowing inmates to kill other
All right,
inmates.
so let's talk about the case now. The case has been severed. How shocking is this? The state's theory in all of this is that these two killed a lot of people to be together, right? They had to get her husband out of the way, so her brother shot and killed him. She was there at the time. She was laughing when police arrived. They had to kill his wife, and they got rid of her children to be together. Yet when it's time for the trial, it was Chad Daybell who did not want to be tried with Lori.
I wonder why.
Tell me. Tell me.
Because
He doesn't love her anymore?
He doesn't love her any less. He doesn't want to sync with her. He thinks that he could cut himself off from her, sever himself with the trial, and maybe avoid the consequences. Maybe avoid the consequences.
So what happens? What's her defense? Where is this defense going to go? Where do you think it's going to go?
KYD BMS.
What's that?
Keep her damn big mouth shut. She'll shut her mouth, and they're going to make the state prove it.
Just make the state prove it?
Yep.
Not point the finger anywhere else?
Maybe.
Probably. I mean, the cases are severed for a lot of different reasons. There may
Yeah.
have been some statements that couldn't come in against him because she made some statements, and so if you have a right to cross-examine them, the case gets severed for a lot of different reasons. Other
Well,
than
Chad
just
Daybell wanted
don't
more.
wanna
He
be
wanted more
sentenced.
time. He wanted more time. She wants a speedy trial.
Well, that's a good reason to sever it then.
Well,
Yeah.
they just dumped a tremendous amount of discovery from what I read.
Jail
on the,
calls.
Right, on the defense. So you have to be, it's
But she wants a
serious
speedy
case.
trial. So why would she want the speedy trial? And it's not really that speedy. She's been locked up for years, by the way. But is there any advantage to her by herself?
I don't know. It's possible that she thinks in her own mind that the way she looks, the way she acts, her body language, her facial expressions will sway the jury into saying she just couldn't have done that to her kids, no matter what the evidence is. And if he's there, he may very well be the person that the jury looks at and says, well, together they were this. But by herself, she just couldn't do that.
Right, Bonnie and Clyde. So, but without him, I mean,
They done away.
maybe
Stop
she.
Bunny.
Any chance that she gets up on a stand and just points the finger at him?
Well, that's what I'm
Let him
saying.
and
Maybe,
says he did
maybe
it?
that's why she wants to sever, because she's
It was
going to try
Chad.
to
I was
blame
scared.
it all on him.
I was scared.
Right.
He was the prophet. He was telling me what to do. All right. We'll see.